So it's another 2-2 for Arsenal, this time against West Ham. And what that, of course, means is that the door is slightly more open now for City, catching them at the top of the table. 4 points the difference. City have a game in hand as well. This is what Arteta had to say after the match.
You don't going to defend your box the way you should in the 2 goals that we concede. Then you have to do many more things much better for longer periods in the match. And then there is another moment when you can go after 50 minutes 3-1 up and probably the game is over, and 2 minutes later you concede a goal. But this is part of football. My worry is after 2-0 that we make that huge mistake and don't understood what the game required in that moment.
How do you explain that? Complacency, whatever it may be.
Easy to do it from outside the pitch. You have to be a player, you have to feel it there, and we have to understand those emotions as well. But we need that ruthless mindset in that moment to go and kill a team. When a team is there for the given, we have to kill it, and today we haven't done it.
Can you tell me why towards the end of the last weekend and today the players looked a little bit fatigued?
Fatigue-wise, no, because what we produced in the first, second half against Liverpool, it was similar, and today we put higher inputs in the second half than in the first half. We were slower in everything that we did. But fatigue, I don't think the team is fatigued or look fatigued.
Do you think the pressure at this stage of the season maybe gets them all?
I would say yes, if I see a team from the beginning playing, when I see a team playing with that flow, it does not. And a tunnel certainly is not the pressure, is that we really misunderstood what the game required in that moment.
Julien Laurent joins us. Jules, you were at the game. It was palpable about how massive that West Ham penalty was, just changing the whole landscape of everything. It was palpable watching it on TV. It must have been even more so, of course, in person there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was crazy. To be fair, Stevie said in the highlights that the party can't lose the ball there. I don't even. I mean, it's not so much that you can lose the ball. Anybody has lost the ball playing football, whatever level. It's just it's the way he loses the ball. You can't try. I don't know if he's tried the sombrero over the head of Rice or just a little flick to go past Rice. Just I don't know. Put your bottom in front, and then he would foul you. I don't know. Kick the ball in the stand if you're not sure what to do. But don't try to do this in the last 20 yards away from your goal. This is not acceptable. This is not what a team of champions do, really, because not in a final sprint like that, not in a race for the title like this. You can't make mistakes like that. And again, they will learn from it, hopefully, but this is not the first time this season.
What's changed, Stevie?
I'm kind of with Arteta here. You know, if you make mistakes on the field, and everybody in every team does it, it's about whether you actually get punished for it. And in 2 weeks, Arsenal have been punished pretty severely. I would say that the second half, Arteta says they worked, and I believe him, but the sharpness wasn't there. You know, last week at Anfield, we said that what Liverpool produced was the reason that they lost their lead. This week, I got to say that they didn't look sharp. I don't think they weren't putting the work in. They just didn't look sharp. If you think of City in your mind, certainly I do, and I think of Arsenal, it's almost like City they've just started. They look fresh. They look at it. They're quick. Everything they do has got pace about it, and there's an energy about it. And when I think of Arsenal, even though they should have won this game, because if he puts the penalty away, game's done, that energy and that sharpness and that pace isn't there. And that's probably what's going to hurt them most.
Is it just the whole season now taking its toll?
I can only assume so at this point, but to Stevie's point, while, yes, Arsenal don't look anywhere near as sharp as City are the ones with more of an excuse. If their own kind of tempo and pace dropped off, they're the ones who are still in the FA Cup. They're the ones who are still competing in Europe. Yes, City have a bigger squad, so they do have that. And Arteta has been able to draw on largely the same 11. I know Gabriel Jesus had a long spell out, but for the most part, he's relied on a core group of players. I think, as I looked at this one, and so much it's so easy to compare to last week's game against Liverpool for obvious reasons. It's again senior players making errors in key parts of the park that are costing Arsenal. Now, while you can say this is the way Arsenal play, this is the way Arteta wants them to play, and we've sung their praises when they do and they get the rewards for it, at 2-0 up, there's absolutely no need for Thomas Partey to attempt whatever it is he was attempting. Just in the same way there was absolutely no need for Granit Xhaka to be picking a fight at 2-0 up last week. And this is the thing for me. While you can applaud Arsenal for how they play the football, for their bravery, for taking chances at the back, at times it's just about game management and about keeping hold of the lead that you have and not inviting the opposition back into the game. Because I thought that's what Arsenal did. They invited West Ham back into the game. West Ham were beat. But the crowd was ready to turn. And all of a sudden, you score a goal 15 minutes before halftime, and West Ham are starting to believe, and the fans are starting to believe in this game, and that cost them.
Arteta said they weren't tired when asked about the second half. How did you see it, Jules?
I don't know. I can hear what Stevie says about the sharpness. They have one game a week now. They don't play in Europe. So, yes, he hasn't rotated as much, for example, the starting 11 than Guardiola has, or even than Klopp has for other reasons. And it's often the same who've played. But I don't know. I didn't feel that sharpness was the reason why they lost control of the game, and we explain why, or why that second half was maybe not as good as it should have been. Because again, we go back to, if they go 3-1 up, I think the game is over. So I don't know, maybe they were too in control at times in the first half at 2-0 up, instead of trying to keep attacking like City do. City are relentless in the way they always go and they always push and put you under pressure. Maybe Arsenal today try to just at 2-0, just controlling the game, controlling the ball, more than anything else. I don't know. But yeah, if you look, of course, Martinelli has played a lot. Saka has played a lot of games. Shaka has played a lot of games. You know, so maybe that's also part of it.
Jules, you take a look at it. They got Southampton on Friday, and then it's that run, isn't it? It's Manchester City on a Wednesday away, and then Chelsea, then Newcastle, then Brighton. It's going to be a massive test, isn't it?
It's huge, but we've known for weeks that that block, and of course some games have been moved for everybody and etc. And I get that, but we knew that was the 4 games that really. There was obviously Liverpool away at some point to manage, but those 4 in a row were tough. But they still have their own destiny, their destiny in their own hands, because they can win everything. They can go into City and win. Anything is always possible in football. We know they can go to City and draw. They can have an amazing performance there all together, where there's no mistakes. Everything works out well for them, and get a draw there, and then again they're on track. So it's difficult to say. But yeah, those 4: City away, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Brighton at home, of course, are huge games, but they're also important now, because we said the draw at Liverpool would, if you go and win at West Ham a week later, you say, okay, maybe it's not a bad point in the end, especially towards the end they could have lost that game. Now, two draws in a row, we're going to say that, okay, Southampton is huge on Friday, of course it is, but especially on the back of those 2 disappointing results.
We obviously, when we're talking about title races, Shaq, we bring up the time of you at Newcastle, and you always say it's a lot easier to chase than it is to lead. Manchester City now 9-4 on look, and those have changed quite a bit after that draw with West Ham for Arsenal. Psychologically, how do you turn the page on this, Ras?
Well, this is on Arteta to convince his team that maybe it didn't deserve the last 2 results. We made a few mistakes, and we have to put that right. I mean, one of the other aspects to this is Arteta, and for as much criticism as he's gotten all season long for some of his remonstrations on the sideline, he's been kind of subdued by his own standard. And I often wonder how those things impact a team. If as a player you're seeing that as a manager feeling some of the pressure and trying to I'm struggling to deal with that because, of course, then that translates to you and how it affects you. So there's a lot at play here that I guess you have to be a part of that dressing room to have the full context of. But if you're Arsenal, you're looking for some kind of consistency and you're not finding it anywhere.
How do you do it, Stevie?
Sometimes I'm just intrigued with the fact that Arteta on the sideline today was not as animated in the second half as we're used to. And sometimes as a coach, people are sitting there going, you need to make a change, you need to do this, you need to do that. Well, sometimes, depending on what you have, making a change makes you more vulnerable. You know, that's the only thing I can think of why he wouldn't change anything. Because as much as anything, you know, let's take Saliba. We've been asking all season about who's Arsenal's most important player.
Yeah.
And we haven't been able to come up with whether it's Odegaard or whether it's this guy. Well, I think we're seeing the fact that Saliba has been missing, that you've got Holding and Gabriel as your base, as your strength. And the truth is, Holding's a bit part player. And he's been asked to play every week now. He's going to have to play every week. And he's having to play in big games. And the man who's in charge is Gabriel, who's a good centre-back, but he's not a leader. And you saw the decision he made when he gave the penalty away, how bad a decision was that was. So if I'm Arteta, the first thing I'm looking at is what can I do defensively?
Okay.
And he's got
what
no
can
answer.
He do, though?
He can't do anything. He has to play the two of them again.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a weakness.
Who's going to win the title, Jules?
Arsenal, I still believe.
Wow.
If they believe, they're 4 points clear. They're 4 points ahead. Right now, of course, we can say City are a machine. They've won 10 in a row in all competitions. Of course, they look great. They have that energy. And they also can... This is what they do. They smell it. Of course they do. But Arsenal are 4 points clear. They're still 4 points ahead. Yeah, they've got one game they played more, but they still have 4 points. And right now, and Pep Guardiola said it the other day, you would rather have 4 more points and be in Arsenal's position if you were City than in this situation. So, of course, they have to believe.
Jules, it sounds like you're just trying to persuade yourself here.
No, it's not.
It does.
Who is going to win it, Steve?
I think you got to go with City. They're going that way, right? And Arsenal's going that way.
Right.
So you got to go with City, ain't you?
I'm with Stevie on this. And while I get Jules' point about Arsenal still being in the lead, it all comes down to that game at the Etihad. And City right now are playing better football. If City win at the Etihad, and I expect them to, they go on to lift this title.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.